formed before. They had various instructions from them, providing for the Germans certain necessities, mostly typewriters, cameras, radios. They were taken away already before, or at least Jews were not allowed to listen to it. Telephones were disconnected if one had, and by late April or early May, they started to put people in the trucks and wheel them into the ghetto. I, my family, and the immediate neighbors went into the ghetto again on Sunday. It was May the 7th.
Did you receive notice that you were going to be taken to the ghetto prior to that?
I think they let us know the day before, by tomorrow this and this hour should be packed. Of course, the package you could take along with you, the minimal thing, blankets, pillowcases, sheets, whatever. Clothing, they wanted to make sure you don't take too much. So when they came, these mostly the Hungarian gendarmes, they came to the house, and if somebody, they noticed I had 3 or 4 or 5 dresses on, especially women, they were very polite. They said, go into the room and lose some weight. So in other words, don't take too much with you because we're going to take care of that. We took the bare necessity, and we went into the ghetto. Then we found a friend of my father, may they both rest in peace. His name was Mordechai Klein. He had enough room in his house to take us in. Now the housing was, you are on your own. You find your own place. The later one came, the more difficult it was. And of course, men separate, women separate, but we still maintained a kosher home. We still prayed every morning. This Mr. Klein had the Sefer Torah in his house. So on the proper days, like Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat, we read the Torah. This went on for about 3 weeks, I guess, 2.5 weeks. On May 29th, which was the second day of Shavuos, which is called Pentecost, I guess, that was the 3rd transport of the city, was deported. We not far from the house where originally we lived, there was a nice park which has railroads. At one time they might have used it for commercial purposes. Somehow they lined up the wagons over there, and that's where we were taken, put in the wagons. The wagons, they ordered about 3 pails of fresh water that were drinking, I guess, and about 3, 4 this military 2-kilogram breads, which is a little over 4 pounds. That was what they gave us, and they sealed the doors, and off we went. Our trip to Auschwitz took 3 days, better than 3 days, because on Monday morning we got there Wednesday night. It was lots of maneuvering from the armies, German soldiers, a Hungarian army was shuffling back and forth, so they took us on a side track, and we had to sit there for hours and hours and hours.
When you were in the ghetto, what was the food situation?
Okay, when we were in the ghetto, first of all, in the ghetto, everybody had to work, unless someone was very, very sick. The food, I come back to this in a moment. The food situation, if you brought with you and everybody brought something, you ate it. After that, officially, the ghetto itself was supposed to support the people who were there and giving this. They did to some extent, yes. But I mentioned before my work, I was, of course, young, and they were taken out in groups to do work. My group did work loading and unloading wagons for the Germans, and they were real heavy sacks, not even boxes, just sacks. And I remember that one thing, they had within the Germans, they had some soldiers who were of Italian ascent, who were joining the Germans. And one day, the Italians and a German had a big fight right in front of us. And we were praying for success for both of them, kill each other. Unfortunately, they never got into a fight. After a few days, I got another assignment we had a tremendously beautiful, well-equipped and modern, up to that days, Jewish hospital, which 2 days or 3 days after Germans came in, they took it away. Literally threw out the Jewish patients. The ambulance could walk away. The other one literally was thrown on the sidewalk on the street. They took it over.
Was that within the ghetto walls?
No, no, no. This was outside the ghetto wall. They took it away. However, from the ghetto, they needed people to work there. And I got a job to go to work there. And by sheer luck, I met a fellow who spoke Hungarian, who listened to the Germans, but he was dissatisfied with them. He was cursing them. And he was watching for myself and a few fellows who worked with us. We had to work there, take sick people to one room to another one, wheel them and bring in their food, or empty the bedpans and all this sort of things. And he told us, don't get into that section, that's all typhus. He was watching for us. And he was one of those guys who volunteered to be a German, but he hated them. And every night when we came back, he gave every one of us a German bread, that military bread, which is called the Kommissbrot, which helped in the ghetto to eat. Sometimes he gave two for each of us, and he took it back and we ate.
When you were in the ghetto, was there any news that came in from the outside about what was going on?
Nothing. We didn't know, at least not at my level. Maybe the members of the committee, maybe the higher-ups knew. He had to know because every day some different orders were given out. But don't forget, after all, I was 18 years old, and 19 perhaps. And I didn't know anything. And in those days, it's not like today. Fathers, no matter how young the children are, discuss with them things. In those days, I'm the father, you're the kid, keep quiet. We weren't told everything in detail. So at least I personally didn't know anything about any occurrence, any happening. As a matter of fact, when they put us in the wagons, they told us that we are only being put in other place in Hungary, another part of Hungary, where you're going to work. And nothing about deporting to outside. And I even believe that.
Did you have plans or goals or ambitions for your future when you were a young man of that age?
Well, everybody has, I suppose. I always liked music, and I wanted to be a conductor, an opera conductor. And when we became hungry, I applied for a school in Budapest called the Zátorecki Ede school, music school. Of course, there never came anything of it. But interesting to know, just before they put us in ghetto, and somehow with my young head I didn't like too much of it. And one day I said to my mother, I want to go over to Romania. And I remember I told you this Romania was a few steps away. In fact, one day we had an excursion, a couple of kids, and we went to a beautiful forest, and a man comes and says, where are you going? So we going for we are going for an excursion. He said, you know that you're in Romania already? We didn't even know about it. Going back, I told my mother I want to go away, and she told me, said, you're going to leave us here? And that's what she said. So I could never go away. And I went with them. And my father, my mother, my siblings, and we all were deported on the same day. And my father, a very youthful-looking man, wonderful man, he got in with me in a car, and 3.5 days later, in Auschwitz, an old man got out with me.
Describe the day that the trains or trucks came to get you from the ghetto.
Well, a certain section of the ghetto were opened for that particular. The ghetto itself was divided in such a way that I believe it's 10 or 11 segments were deported. So there was only one entrance or exit. But for the deportation, they opened this other, closest to this Radai Park where the wagons were. The army trucks came in and just made sure we get on it. And the truck threw away, and the whole thing maybe less than 10-minute ride from there where we were. It's a very close. Could have walked it, but I guess we already had old, sick people. Now, these cars, at least in my wagon, which I remember there were 73 people. Old, could hardly sit or stand. And how we slept at night is sitting up and trying to give a little more room for the old elderly. In fact, I think 2 people died in the car, so we carried their bodies with us to Auschwitz. And when we got in the train, they locked the train, and everybody said, "Don't worry." I mean, they said the Germans had their Hungarian mouthpieces talk for them. "Don't be afraid. Don't do any stupid thing. Everything be okay. You're being taken to a certain place to work, and the families will be together, and everything will be hunky-dory."
Families were together in the car?
In the car, families were together. But 2 days later, we got to the border of Hungary and Czechoslovakia, which was already part of Germany. And then the door opens, and somebody comes in, still speaking Hungarian. "You'll be taken to a place," but again the same nonsense. Here they emphasize, don't do anything stupid, meaning don't commit suicide. Your family will be together, you'll be well provided, etc., etc. And then 24 hours later, going to certain cities like Sanz and Krakow, you arrived to Auschwitz. That was Wednesday night, about 1:32 in the morning, going towards Thursday morning. So from Monday morning till the 3.5 days in that car. And then, of course, Auschwitz, we were not taken off the train, but driven off the train among beatings and all that thing, and lined up. I went through the selection.
When you were in the car before you got to Auschwitz, did people have discussions? What went on for those 3.5 days?
The only thing I distinctly remember, a friend of my father, Mr. Oppenheim, I remember his words. I don't know why. He kept on saying over and over again, "I didn't think this will be my end. I didn't think this will be my end." He kept on saying. And otherwise, the discussion, move over, let me sit down. There wasn't any political discussion. Nobody knew no details. Nobody heard everything. Now, by this time, we didn't hear a radio or any news for weeks. And as a matter of fact, later on, we used to have here in a ghetto, but later in concentration camp, which of course we come back, we had a saying that, "Tell me something news. If it's not true, doesn't mean, but it's certainly good." So that's how it was. So we didn't have any too much discussion in a car.
How long did 3 pails of water last for 3.5 days?
I don't know how long it lasted. With everything rationed. You only have half a cup or half a day, or whatever bread you ate, and a few of the food that the parents brought along, mostly the mothers who were away. And it didn't last too long. I don't remember exactly day or hourly, but I know about 3 days. Oh, yes. On our way, we stopped at one spot. This was still in Hungary. And the station master was a very good man. He already had experience for who we are and what we are. And the first thing, when he said, the doors were closed, but each one had cattle cars. There's a window. First one, he ran around, "Anybody needs water? Anybody needs water?" So then he gave us water.